Welcome back to the 2015 Ascension Chamber of Commerce Political Forum. Once again, we'd like to thank the Ascension Parish government and Parish President Tommy Martinez for allowing us to air this live on Channel 21. Now we are moving on to the race for state representative in District 58. There are three candidates joining us tonight: Miguel Aubert, Ed Price, and Nathaniel Rapp. Miguel Aubert is a St. James native and Ascension Parish resident. He is the son of former state representative Elton Aubert and Pastor Claudette Aubert. He is a graduate of Ascension Catholic High School and Delgado Community College. He is employed by Dow Chemical. He is the progressive candidate pushing a progressive agenda designed to strengthen the middle class, educate our children, protect the poor and less advantaged, and to protect our environment. He says to do this, we must focus on four key areas: economic development, education, healthcare, and the environment. Mr. Aubert, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Nathaniel Rapp Jr. is a graduate of St. James High School and Nichols State University. Mr. Rapp is a veteran who served in the United States Army and the Army National Guard. He is also an LSU-trained volunteer firefighter. He is an incident commander and hazmat trained at Texas A&M University. Mr. Rapp is also the founder and CEO of the Nathaniel Rapp Jr. Foundation, Youth Mentoring. He is a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated and is a community activist for human rights. Mr. Rapp has 22 years in the chemical industry experience, and he is an active member of the New Horizon Missionary Baptist Church and is a community activist for human rights. Mr. Rapp, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Ed Price is a graduate of East Ascension High School and received his Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science from Grambling State University in 1975. He is retired from BASF with over 36 years of service. He is married to Patsy Jackson Price. They have a daughter, Margaret, and a grandson, Carry-On. Ed was elected to the Ascension Parish School Board in 1985 and served there 27 years. 12 of those years, Ed served as president of the board. He was elected to the Louisiana House of Representatives in 2011 and is presently seeking his second term. Mr. Price, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Candidates, you will be each asked a series of questions, and they will be answered in the order of the random draw that was selected prior to the broadcast. We will rotate that draw. At the end of the questioning session, you will each have 90 seconds to give a closing debate or closing statement. Are you all ready to proceed?
Yes.
Excellent. Mr. Aubert, we will begin with you. The mission of the Ascension Chamber of Commerce is to facilitate and foster economic growth for our members. What can you do, if elected to the state representative, to help advance the mission of the Ascension Chamber of Commerce?
Okay, the first thing that I want to do, I'm going to invest in our infrastructure to increase pathways to job creation in our district. And with those job creation, it's going to come small business. It's opportunities for small business. I'm going to be supporting the small business programs, help get our community to develop more small businesses, get them the certification they need to help our chamber grow and to bring economic benefit to our local area, to get things moving in Ascension Parish. And that's going to help lower our unemployment rate in our area, to bring, as we create more small businesses in our area. And besides that, I'm also going to support programs to send children as they get in high school to where they can go to different trade schools to get the different certifications that they need so that they can become active members in our industry and also to start businesses in our area.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Aubert. Mr. Rapp, what would you do to foster or help the Ascension Chamber of Commerce meet its goal and mission?
With the amount of industry that's coming to our area, my first goal would be to make sure the residents of this area are the first people that's hired throughout that process. My goal is to work hand in hand directly with plant managers to make sure that these people, the taxpayers here, have first choice before we go outside to hire anybody. Secondly, I'd like to lower the unemployment rate here by what I would do is create a work toward a juvenile court, because we're losing our young people. They're being convicted of felonies, and once they're out, they are not qualified to work. So with that being said, I'd like to start a program to rehabilitate these people so that they can also have the opportunity to work, and that would help create job growth within the area.
Thank you, Mr. Rapp. Mr. Price, what would you do to help the Ascension Chamber of Commerce advance its mission?
Well, absolutely. Economic growth is a very important process here in the community.
I've worked with the chambers already to develop business interests into Ascension Parish. One of the big things is fostering business to come here by offering economic incentives to those large business. When those large business come, then around those come the small business, and it just starts to expand from there. So it's a very important thing that we offer these incentives packages to the large business, and then the small business grows around that. And I will continue to work with business groups, with the chambers, to make sure that they're inviting business to come here, and we offer these different packages to make sure that they come and they get something out of it, like tax breaks and things like that. So I will definitely continue to work with all the chambers to make sure that is happening.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, gentlemen. I heard a lot of things in there. One of the things I heard at least 2 or 3 times was infrastructure. And infrastructure is a main concern to Ascension Parish residents. Most of our major arteries are state roads, and let's be honest, at 5 o'clock on any afternoon, those state roads are packed up. What solutions, Mr. Rapp, would you offer to help our parish government address funding issues for major road improvements to enhance the infrastructure and attract businesses to Ascension Parish?
Okay. First of all, let me say that infrastructure is a major problem here in Ascension Parish. Our population grew so fast that we cannot accommodate the traffic. One of the things I would propose on I-10 is a bypass, similar to what there is in a city like Houston. One of the major problems we have here, our parish roads are too narrow, along with our state roads. But I would work with other legislators to make sure we get the proper funding, whether it be on the state or federal level, to make sure we have adequately the needs that need to be met. One of the major issues I have with the infrastructure is the intersection of Cornerview and 73. We've had a lot of incidents there recently, and a quick fix would be a traffic light there. On Highway 73, it's a traffic mess every morning, and we don't have enough lights. I mean, it's just out of control. But I would definitely get the funding necessary to improve the area.
Thank you, Mr. Rapp. Mr. Price, what would you do, or what solutions do you offer to the parish government to help with our infrastructure issues?
Absolutely, infrastructure is a major issue here in Ascension Parish. We all face it every day. Some of the things that we already have on the book, because Highway 30, as we know in the afternoon, it's a backlog of traffic. We're already proposing to widen Highway 30 from 1,000 feet past the Ascension Road into 44 on out to Alline Highway. That's already in the making. We also have a proposal on the book to the Eaton-Barn extension right now. We just received funding to extend the Eaton-Barn Boulevard to St. Landry Road, another way to start moving traffic out without everything having to come to Highway 30. We're also looking at right now Highway 73 to make sure that we've done some expansion along 73 from Alline to the interstate, but looking at bringing that all the way out to the River Road to relieve some of the traffic that's there. I will continue to work with parish government to make sure that the funding continue to come.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Mr. Aubert, what would you do as the representative for part of Ascension Parish to make sure that Ascension Parish government meets its infrastructure needs?
Okay, one of the things that I would do is I want to propose 4-lane highways on Highway 73, coming from 30. That'll help relieve some of the traffic issues we have in that area. I'm also going to propose and fight for Highway 30 to be a 4-lane highway going each direction, going towards Baton Rouge and the other direction. So that'll help relieve some of that traffic in the evening time. And also coming off the Sunshine Bridge, Highway 70 to Sorrento. There's another area where I think we need a 4-lane highway. So those are some things that I'll be fighting for to help relieve some of our traffic problems that we have here in Ascension Parish.
Thank you, Mr. Aubert. Mr. Price, you had mentioned in response to the first question of bringing in, attracting businesses to the state. Bigger businesses attract small businesses. And Ascension Parish is an industrial economic development leader. It seems that every year there is a multinational company looking to relocate to Ascension Parish because of the vast resources that we have right along the Mississippi River. However, nationally, Louisiana has been criticized for its court system, labeling Louisiana as one of the most inhospitable states for businesses in the litigation system. One of the factors that LABI, the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, has identified is our jury trial threshold, that a civil defendant is not entitled to a jury trial by the people unless the case exceeds $50,000, which is more than any other state in the union. There are many states that give all people the right to a jury trial. Would you support lowering the jury trial threshold to attract more business and give the impression that Louisiana courts are indeed friendly to business?
Well, we certainly want to look at the need and how we need to do that. As you know, that was something that came up in the legislature this past session, and I think it actually did not make it out of committee. But anyway, what we need to do is sit down at the table, talk about the things that need to be done, and reach a compromise on that. Sure, there was pressure from both sides, of course, to do it, to not to do it. I pledged that I will sit at the table, sit with the all individuals involved, Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, Trial Lawyers Association, whatever it's going to take to reach some compromise at that, because we do need a business-friendly state. And one of the things we have to do is look at how do we achieve it. If it's going to achieve it by lowering the threshold, then we need to come to the table and discuss it. I have that capability to sit down with both sides and say, hey, let's discuss this, let's move forward. Let's come up with some compromise. It may not go to 0, it may not stay at 50, but we have to come up with something.
Thank you. Mr. Aubert, how do you feel about that?
Okay, well, one of the things that I would like to do, I would like to form a coalition of cross-party lanes with my counterparts in the legislature to come up with a plan that we can address that issue. And because I do believe that LABI is very important to our business environment in Louisiana. They are a friend to us, and I would like to keep that relationship going to continue to attract more business to our area so that our local people can have more jobs like that. But at the same time, I want to be fighting for the people, to the best interest of my people also. But I want to be the bridge. I want to be the bridge builder between the two parties, between the people and the LABI, to make sure that we come to a responsible solution to address that issue.
Thank you, Mr. Aubert. Mr. Rapp, do you support lowering the jury trial threshold to make our courts more business-friendly?
As a state representative, I would like to resolve a matter like this working with other legislators, especially those who have been there longer than myself. Because a matter like this, I would also like to work with the criminal justice system, because bringing businesses here are important. But when you get into legal matters like that, you would also have to work with judges, informed judges. And also, I'd like to build a team of constituents where, who are informed about issues like this. And from that, I'd make an informed decision on that.
Thank you, Mr. Rapp. Mr. Aubert, the next question goes to you. And we talked a little bit about the criminal justice system. And I'm going to parlay that into a discussion about education. Ascension Parish is one of the primary leaders in the state in K-12 education. I think a lot of our population bloom is because of the good success that we've had with our Ascension Parish schools. And that is indeed a priority, a top priority for the state. What would you do to protect funding for K-12 education as we navigate through an upcoming fiscal crisis?
Okay, one of the things that I would advocate is working with our industry partners in our area, because they have a lot of jobs and have a lot of money to help them partner with the different schools in our district to help support our kids. And the things that the kids need, I would like to go to the plant managers, the corporations themselves, and ask them could they support us, and could they send their people to help volunteer their time to give us the things that we need to help our students achieve their goals in the classroom.
Thank you, Mr. Aubert. Mr. Rapp, what would you do to protect funding for K-12 education?
I'd also work with industry. Like I stated earlier, I'd work hand in hand with plant managers, keep them informed on what's going on in the school system. I was once a member of Chem Friends, where industry actually provided chemistry projects for kids to keep them informed. And I'd like to implement more programs like that to make sure that they're aware of the needs of the school, and I'd take that route.
Thank you, Mr. Rapp. Mr. Price?
As you know, the K-12 education is funded through the Minimum Foundation Program, the MFP. We have to protect the MFP to make sure that funding gets down to the local school system. The local school system then must take that money to make sure that we educate the children the quality education that's provided. But I will maintain that we continue to fund the MFP fully. And that has been my goal while I was there. It will continue to be my goal that the state hold their obligation to fund the minimum foundation program to make sure that K-12 is fully funded. And I will always fight that fight for our children and our teachers.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Mr. Rapp, speaking of education, Louisiana has the TOP scholarship program where the state provides a scholarship to students who meet a minimal criteria to attend state universities, keep our best and brightest in Louisiana. Do you support the TOPS program in its current form, and are there any changes that can be made to TOPS to ensure that TOPS recipients live up to their end of the bargain, meet their grades, and stay in school?
Yes, I support TOPS 100%. I have a daughter that graduated from Santa Ma, and she's now in pharmacy school at Xavier, and she was a recipient of TOPS. So I know firsthand that it is one of the best programs. Secondly, I would do everything possible to improve TOPS. I work with educators and other legislators to make sure that we do everything that's effective to make sure that the TOPS program continue to become progressive and get better every year.
Thank you, Mr. Rapp. Mr. Price, how do you feel about TOPS, and are there any changes that need to be made to modify the TOPS program?
Of course, I've supported TOPS, but one thing that we have to understand, if we don't do something to change the TOP program, it's going to break this state. We're in a budget crisis right now. We spend a lot of dollars on TOPS. One of the things that has been suggested, and for whatever reason, when the TOP program was put in place, kids get the money, they don't finish school, or they flunk out in their first, second semester, they don't have to pay it back. We have to make some changes. We can't allow kids to go up there for the first year, get TOP money, party, flunk out of school, and don't have to pay anything back. We got to change the system somewhat so that it does not go broke. If we continue at the pace that we are going, there will be no TOPS because there's not enough money to continue the program the way we're running it. So we are looking at some ways to change it. There was some legislation this past year that got vetoed that I did support to make some changes to it, and I will continue to fight to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Mr. Aubert, do you support TOPS, and are there any changes that you see that need to be made to the TOPS program?
Yes, I do support TOPS and understand that the program is not perfect, but there are opportunities for us to revamp and revise the TOPS program. Like, for instance, I do hear about a lot of kids have partaken in TOPS, got the money that they need to go to school, and like Mr. Price said, they did fail out of college or drop school or whatever. And I do, I'm going to help to revamp that to where maybe they can help pay some things back if you don't finish your schooling in TOPS. And also, a lot of kids that do benefit from TOPS, a lot of them, once they graduate, they move to other states like that. So I think that part of the things that should be applied to TOPS is where we, the people of Louisiana, help those kids to get through school through the TOPS program. And I think they should be able to give back to the TOPS program by getting them staying employed in Louisiana and giving back to the TOPS program like that, so that other kids can benefit from the TOPS program just as they have. So those are some of the changes that I would probably do to help keep the TOPS around and keep it funded.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Aubert. Mr. Price, the next question goes to you, and I want to get to the state budget because you mentioned the state budget crisis. And the state is facing and has faced over the past year a significant budget crisis because tax revenues do not meet the state's spending needs. As a Chamber of Commerce and as a business owner, people know that in order to operate a business and in order to operate a household, you have to have a budget. You have to meet that budget in order to stay in business or in order to stay afloat as a family. What is your message to business owners about how to correct the state's budget crisis? Do you support cutting spending? Do you support raising taxes? Or do you have another plan to get the budget in control?
Well, one of the things we're going to have to do is take a look at the budget and see what is working and what is not working. Yes, we have a budget crisis in the state because we have continued to spend more money than we're taking in. We can't continue to do that because if we do, no business can spend more than they're taking in or they're going to go out of business. And that's what this state has been doing. We've been playing robbing Peter to pay Paul in the last couple of years. I think there are some things that has to be looked at. We have to continue to cut where cuts need to be, but also we have to look at the entire budget, go in there and say, hey, are these some of the incentives that's been on the books forever and ever, are they paying dividend back to the state? And those are the things that we have to look at. We have to make sure that these things are paying the dividend and balance a budget. We need a balanced budget, not just say we have a balanced budget, because that's what we've been doing the last couple of years, saying we have a balanced budget and not having one.
Mr. Aubert, how would you address the state's budget needs? Would it be raising taxes, cutting spending, a combination of both, or an alternate plan?
I don't believe I don't believe in raising taxes, but I do believe that we should try to balance. We should balance the budget by cutting the program that's not working, and allocate that money to other programs that are working to give incentives to business so that they can lower the tax, so they can start employing our people. So that way, the more people get employed, the more tax revenue we'll have coming forward to help us with our budget like that. And we're going to continue to do whatever incentives we need. The more business we get to come here, that's the more people we can employ. Our unemployment rate is going to go down, and that's going to bring the tax dollars in for us. So I do not believe in supporting new taxes or anything like that.
Thank you, Mr. Aubert. Mr. Rapp, what is your plan?
Speaking in a realistic manner, it would have to be a combination of both. We would have to cut spending where necessary, but as a last resort, we would have to increase taxes. But we are really spending more than we are making. But if we attract the right industry here, I think this problem can be corrected if we work collaboratively together as legislators, that we can definitely work this out. But definitely, the first thing would be to cut spending where necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Rapp. Mr. Aubert, the next question goes to you to start off with. All three of you seem to mention cutting tax incentives, certain tax incentives. As a general principle, do you support tax incentives as a manner of attracting business to Louisiana? And if you were going to eliminate some, which industries would you target?
I do support, the cutting the taxes. As far as with industry, what I would be, I know there's a lot going on with the film industry right now. There's different proposals about them. So I would work with my fellow legislators to find out what's best needed in the areas that we need to focus on, so that we can come to a result to get things moving again in our state.
All right, thank you, Mr. Aubert. Mr. Rapp, do you support tax incentives as a business attraction tool as a general principle? And if you were going to eliminate some, which industries would you target?
I also agree with cutting taxes, and I also agree with working with other legislators to make a more informed decision. But as far as tax incentives, I would start with the chemical industry because it's one of the largest industries in this area, but I would definitely start there.
Thank you, Mr. Rapp. Mr. Price?
Tax incentives are very important to the business community. And there are a lot of things out there that need to be looked at. And that's why I think we need a comprehensive program. The legislature can get together, look at what's on the book. I support tax incentives because I think it drives business, it brings business to the community, it increases job production. You increase job production, then you increase the workforce, and there it is. But there are things that I think we need to look at as a legislature to make sure that they are working. And I can't say one industry or the other at this point, but we have a huge budget. We have to look at it. We got over $7 billion in tax incentives, $7 billion. It has to be looked at to see what is attracting the business to the community and what is working, what is providing jobs. Those that aren't providing the jobs, not doing anything, then we need to look at it and say, hey, let's revamp this program, sunset it at some point so we can at least know if they're working or not working and whether we need to renew it.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight and answering these tough questions that affect not only our business community, but our community as a whole. We will now move on to closing statements. Each of you is given 90 seconds to present a closing statement. Mr. Aubert, we will start with you.
Okay, yes. My name is Miguel Aubert, and I'd like to have your vote on October 24, 2015. I am the only progressive candidate in this particular race with a plan to move this district forward. One of the things that I think that we need to focus on is economic development. I'm going to invest in our infrastructure to increase pathways to job creation in our district. I'm also going to support legislation that calls for equal pay for women in the workplace and in the public and the private sectors. I'm going to support higher education. I'm going to support legislation that bridges the gap between Common Core and teacher flexibility in the classroom. I'm also going to support legislation that prepares students to enter college or university or a successful career. I'm also going to help to foster legislation that detects and diagnoses people who suffer with mental illness, support legislation that expands Medicaid to uninsured. I'm also going to support legislation that encourages the manufacturing industry to protect our environment and help bring jobs in our area. I'm going to also invest in renewable energy sources and green technologies. My platform is designed to strengthen the middle class, to protect the poor and the less advantaged. It's also designed to educate our youth and to bring job creation in our district. Thank you for your support. I need your vote October 24, 2015.
Thank you, Mr. Obear. Mr. Rapp?
My name is Nathaniel Rapp, and I want to provide a voice to District 58 for the voiceless. One of the major things I want to address in this upcoming election is the African American community. Ever since the Voters' Right Act of the 1960s, I don't think the African American community has taken the time to be informed. I have a problem with the fact that our vote seems like now it's for sale. We sell out to politicians for a beer, maybe some jambalaya, and a few dollars, but we don't take the time to find out the facts and become informed about who these candidates really are. I think we should take a look at the system and take a close look at each candidate, and I ask that you vote for the most qualified candidate, and if you do that, you'll be voting for Nathaniel Rapp on October 24th, number 59. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rapp. Mr. Price?
Thank you. First of all, let me thank the Ascension Chamber of Commerce for hosting this forum tonight, and hopefully the audience at home has learned something of the candidates up here. I'm the only one up here that provides you with the experience and the leadership. I was on the school board for 27 years, and I served as president of the Ascension Parish School Board, which had one of the top school board in the state of Louisiana. I'm talking about leadership. I am a full-time legislator. In 2012, when I was elected to this office, I retired from my job at BASF with a very successful career. But I wanted to devote my time and energy to doing the things to provide leadership for this community, to make sure that our educational system is one of the tops, not just in Ascension Parish, but in the state of Louisiana, to foster economic development by meeting with the Department of Economic Development and bringing business to the community that's going to provide meaningful jobs to the people in my district. I've continued to do that, and I will continue that the next 4 years when I'm elected again. And one thing for sure, I will always be the voice for the people. I will fight for our teachers. I will fight for our children in education, and I will also fight for our retirees and those people who are less fortunate. I will be there for you on October 24th. Please re-elect Ed Price. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Price. And thank you all for joining us tonight. We hope that this forum has been informative to you as you prepare to vote. A reminder that Election Day is October 24th, which is a Saturday. Early voting starts on October 10th. Please join us tomorrow as you will see Part 2 of the 2015 Ascension Chamber of Commerce Political Forum. Tomorrow night we will feature races from the 81st State Representative District, the 59th State Representative District, and the Lieutenant Governor's race. I'm proud to announce that all 4 candidates for Lieutenant Governor will be here tomorrow night to talk about not only issues that affect our state, but Ascension Parish as a whole. Airtime tomorrow is at 6 o'clock. We hope you will join us then. Thank you and good night.